Well, a politician is a practitioner of the art. Theodore Roosevelt said the first duty of a statesman is to get elected. Because you can't be a statesman if you're standing on the sidelines writing columns. Yes, you can influence things, you can make a difference and all the rest of it, but the ultimate decision is made by the person whose name has been on the ballot and who has been given the power by the people. Because ultimately the source of sovereignty is the people. Okay, that requires a certain set of skills in order to get elected. And a politician, political skills, is one who is a practitioner of the art of getting elected. Public service is what you get after you're elected, or what you render after you're elected. Now, I think one of the reasons that you have the term of opprobrium is that too many people, politicians, after they get elected, remain politicians and stop, or indeed never embark on public service. But their whole focus while they hold office is how do I maintain control of this office, rather than how do I serve while in this office. So to that extent, the opprobrium attached to the word politician is legitimate. The whole debate we're having right now in politics is to what degree should the government interfere with the economy? And the entire thrust of the Obama campaign, all of these wonderful things have happened in America and the government is responsible. And the entire thrust of the Romney campaign is all of these wonderful things have happened in America and individuals are entirely responsible. And they're both right and they're both wrong. There are some times when government enhances the power of the economy to grow, and there are many times when government gets in the way of the economy growing. And that's one of the geniuses of the two-party system, that the tension between the party of government, which is the Democrat, and the party of free markets, which is the Republican, constantly competing with each other, and neither one of them ever ultimately succeeding in taking control. If we ever got to the point where either one of them was in full control, we'd be in real trouble. Now, unfortunately, what we call the social issues have gotten into this and messed it all up. And my explanation for that comes back to the fact that politics is about power. And this can get back into the Hugh Nibley world very easily, because if you talk about the government of God, Mormons believe there was a rebellion. There was an attempted revolution. The difference between a revolution and a rebellion is who wins. If you win, it's been a revolution. If you lose, you mounted a rebellion. All right, so there was a rebellion with Satan saying no. And what was the issue? It was power. A very large percentage of our politicians are very insecure individuals. All right. And you'll find out who I'm talking about, and I'm picking on him, but he's such a good example of it. I'm not really sure I've got it. I've been raised all my life being told what a brilliant future I have, but I look around, I'm not the smartest kid in the room, and I'm not sure, that I'm going to be able to make it in life. If I could just be elected to the House of Representatives and be congressman, then I'd be a worthy person. So he gets himself elected congressman, and the demons don't go away. Instead, there's a sense of, gee, I'm kidding everybody. I'm a congressman, and the insecurities that I had as a youth are still there. Now, if I could be a senator, then I'd be established. Then I'd be straight. So I get to be senator. The demons are still there. Well, if I could be president, then I could prove to everybody. So I run for president. And one of two things happens. I win or I lose. And I lose, having won the popular vote but lost the electoral vote. And I put on 40 pounds and I grow a beard and I cheat on my wife because all of the demons now come out. I've met every president from John F. Kennedy through Barack Obama. The smartest one, Richard Nixon. The most insecure, Richard Nixon. For whatever reason, growing up poor in Whittier and having the kind of father he had and so on, after I was elected to the Senate, Bob Dole took a group of us, the freshmen, put us on a plane, and we flew to New Jersey to spend the day with Richard Nixon. He was well into his 80s. This was about a year before he died. Okay, everything was over with respect to his ego. It was one of the most fascinating days I have ever spent. When his ego became part of the equation, none of the other aspects of the equation added up. What had happened, now age and circumstance had taken his ego out of the equation, and he could analyze it with his brilliant mind, and it was just dazzling. Well, the first thing I say to any young person who comes to me and says, well, how do I get into politics? I think, and they always frame it in terms of public service. And many times it's driven by ideology. I'm right. I understand, and I've embraced the Tea Party gospel or the far left gospel, whatever. And I want to be there to force everybody to do what I want it to be. And I say, well, the first recommendation I make to you is get yourself a profession whereby you can earn a living in case you lose. Because chances are you're going to. And if you want a political career as the only way you can earn your living, it's very dangerous if you win. Because if you win, and this is the only way you can earn your living, and you come up against a problem where you have to choose between doing the right thing about keeping yourself in office and doing the right thing about doing it for the country, and it means you're going to starve, that becomes an enormous incentive to do the wrong thing. Looking back on my career, the parts of it that I am the least proud of are those where I cast a vote for political advantage. Now, in every case, I justified myself by saying, it doesn't matter. The outcome will not be affected. If I vote this way, it won't make any difference. And it will appeal to this group of delegates who are mad at me, and I can calm them down by throwing them a bone. And as I was facing the convention, I cast some of those votes. And I look back on that, and I'm not proud of that. The proudest moments are when I said, I don't care what this may or may not do to my political career. It's the wrong thing to do. And I couldn't live with myself if I were recorded for posterity as having voted for this thing or having voted against this thing, whichever it might be. And I would say to somebody who's looking at a career, you better think about how you will feel when your career is over, about what you've done. As long as you are preserved in your right to worship, you uphold your government. That's what got the temple in Freiburg, Germany. So Thomas Monson pointed that out to the German dictators of Eastern Germany and said, we believe in upholding the government as long as you preserve our right to worship. And the church has been very, very strong on that we do not dictate. We do not tell people how to vote. And it really upsets a lot of my Republican Mormon friends when I tell them that Harry Reid carries a current temple recommend, does his home teaching, married in the temple, sent his kids on missions, and Harry Reid has done as much to further the work of the kingdom as any politician that has ever served in national office, including me. And the church does not say, well, let's purge Harry Reid. The church says, let's call him up and ask him for something else that we need, and he delivers. And now, the church, I know there are politicians within the church that have tried to get the church to do what the evangelicals do and put out voting guides and pass it out over the pulpit and that kind of thing. And no, we will not allow a political meeting to be held in the church. I remember when the church front page editorial in the Deseret News saying meetings of the John Birch Society cannot take place in church buildings. That's a violation of our neutrality on political issues. When people would come up to me, I remember a dear sweet woman in Utah County who came up to me and she was almost quivering. And she said, I have never been so fearful about our future. And our country has never been in as much peril as it is right now. And I said to her, would you want to have lived during the Civil War? Well, no. World War II. There was no guarantee we were going to win World War II. There was no guarantee that Hitler was not going to overrun Britain. But he didn't. And we got through the Civil War. The Lord is in charge. Now, if the Lord's in charge, everything's going to be all right. Keep that in mind as we go forward in this. I don't believe that George Washington was an accident. I believe the 101st section of the Doctrine and Covenants, that the Lord raised these people up. I'll even give him credit for Thomas Jefferson as hard as I've been on Jefferson. I think Washington, Hamilton, Franklin, Jefferson, Madison, Marshall, all of these people were the hand of the Lord. But I don't think it stopped just because of the Revolution and the Constitution. Abraham Lincoln is as much raised up by the hand of the Lord to preserve the Union as George Washington and Benjamin Franklin were raised up by the hand of the Lord to create it in the first place. And is he going to abandon us now? One of the major things wrong that Hugh Nibley's got right is that we think the government of man is all there is. And we have to understand that the government of God is more important. And in the end, the only thing that survives. And if you have that perspective, that's what comes back to your conscience. Okay, I may get this political advantage out of this vote, But when I have my final personal priesthood interview with the Savior face to face, how am I going to feel about this? I won't be able to justify that. And the 134th section of Doctrine and Covenants says governments are instituted by God, and he holds men accountable for their acts in relation to them, both in passing the laws and in reacting and responding to the laws. I don't have the exact wording. I would read that and say, I'm going to have to account for my voting record someplace other than the Utah County Convention or the Utah State Convention, somewhere other than the general election.